What is going on, guys? I am on YouTube now. We got a few people in here. If you're in here tuning in on YouTube, make sure to say what's up. Where is my camera? There we go. What is going on, guys? Thank you guys for joining us once again. Today is the 15th of April, 2024. It's about 1:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So hello to everyone, depending where you guys are located. It's the middle of the afternoon here. There's been a lot that's happened since we did our last live stream last week. So we're going to be jumping into it. We're going to be talking about the Bitcoin halving, because that is expected to be in about 4 days, either the 19th of April or the 20th of April. So we have that to look forward to this week, this weekend. And then we also have, of course, we saw a massive dump in crypto over the weekend due to the war with Israel and Iran. So we're gonna go a little bit into that. I'm not gonna go into the war part of it because I don't know much about all of that, about what's really going on with the war and why they're at war. What I know about and what I'm gonna personally go into is why and how wars affect the prices of Bitcoin. So a lot of people were asking me why Bitcoin was dropping with the war and why the war directly affects it. So we're gonna jump into that. We're gonna talk a little bit about it. We're gonna talk about the Bitcoin halving, and then I'm gonna do an analysis overall on Bitcoin's price, and I'm gonna share some potential trades that I might be looking to make, or where I'm potentially looking to buy on these dips. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive right into it. If you guys are still on Instagram, I'm still live on Instagram. If you guys are on Instagram watching right now, I am live on YouTube. Just search Bitcoin Daily and you'll be able to see it. I will be sharing my screen, and yeah, so I'm gonna end the live here on Instagram. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll see you guys on YouTube. All right. Now that we've done that, close that out real quick. So I just saw a tweet here. It says that that Israel Air Force has completed its preparation for an imminent attack against Iran. I don't like the sound of that. Let me see what the markets are looking like right now. Nothing right now. It doesn't seem like there's too much, that it's phased it as of now. But yes, there's a lot going on, guys. Let me say what's up to everybody that's in the chat, that's tuned in, that's commented. Rodrigo, what's going on? Arsh from India. Rodrigo's from Mexico. Mexico, mi hermano, ¿cómo está? What's going on with everybody? If you guys don't know, I do speak Spanish as well. I was born and raised here in the US, but my parents are from Cuba. My first language was Spanish. And then when I started school, I learned English and had to basically relearn Spanish later on in life. But let's dive into this, guys. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on here with Bitcoin, with the war, and with the upcoming halving. So let's start off here with the halving. The halving event, as you guys can see the countdown right now, we're about 4 days away, guys. So it's gonna get interesting. Things are definitely gonna get interesting here. We are gonna be seeing this halving potentially Friday or Saturday. I feel like it's gonna be Saturday, because Saturday, that makes it 420, right? And just like last bull run, Bitcoin went up to $69,000, right? So it's only right if the halving happens on 420, right? 69 and 420 makes sense. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's how things work out here in the crypto space. But yeah, guys. So definitely prepare for that. Remember that the main moves for Bitcoin are after the halving, and we've spoken about this several times here on the channel. We covered it probably the last like 2 or 3 weeks. We've been talking about this, right? Here's a kind of a breakdown on what that looks like. So first we have the pre-halving accumulation phase, then we have the pre-halving rally phase, then we have the pre-halving pullback, which is currently where we are, right? And we've seen this massive, massive pullback here over the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks now. So we've basically been ranging and we've seen big pullbacks here over the last 5 weeks. And if we look at those pullbacks to see how big from the top to the bottom, about 17.5% pullback there. So that's pretty much in line with what I've been expecting here as far as pullbacks. And we can continue to range in this anywhere here now once we go into the next phase after the halving, which will be the post-halving accumulation. So this phase is expected to last anywhere around 90 days, 3 months. You know, obviously it could be different, but that's kind of the average when we look back in history at, you know, what it's done. If we look here, this lasted 70 days, so it could be shorter. And if we go further back to the halving before that, it lasted 147 days. So that's pretty much, you know, that what we're going to be at. We're going to be anywhere between 70 to 147. Now, I don't think 147, but it's a potential and it's a scenario that we should be prepared for, right? So now another thing to note here, we saw here back in 2016, after the halving, we got one more big dip here. Now, we don't know exactly what that event was. I would have to look it up, what was happening in August of 2016. But there was a big dip. You see that Bitcoin picked right back up, though, and then, you know, began its rally upwards. And then the previous one, we had the COVID crash. So that was a little bit different as well, right? We had the COVID crash. Then we began here to have the pre-halving rally. We had a smaller than usual pre-halving correction, and I think that's due to the COVID crash that we saw here. Then we still did see the accumulation for about a little bit over 2 months, and then we began that really big rally there nicely to the upside. So that's basically what we're expecting to see. Something very similar to this, where we've had the accumulation, we've seen the pre-halving rally play out, and now we've seen the pre-halving pullback play out. So now we're expecting to see some accumulation here for probably the next few months before the post-halving rally where things really begin to take off. And that's when we could potentially see prices go, you know, above $100,000 and potentially 200, right? I think for myself, 200,000 has been my overall prediction for the next year or two. So I'm really hoping that plays out because that'll be amazing. If you guys are hearing anything in the background, there is construction here across from where I live. Very annoying. It's literally happening almost the entire day. Hopefully you guys don't hear that, but it's very loud in my ears, so I imagine that you you guys might be hearing it as well. So just to let you guys know, if you're hearing something strange, it's probably because of that. All right, so now talking about the halving, of course, it's going to happen soon. We spoke about potential diminishing returns, which is also why I think there's diminishing pullbacks, right? So that's another subject that we spoke about last week. So let's kind of take a look at something that I kind of drew here last week while we were speaking about it. So one of the subjects here was of diminishing returns, and as you can see from the previous two bull runs, a 12,800% move up, and in the last bull run, a 2,100% move up. And in this bull run, if we do about half of this, and again, this 2,100 is not half of 12,000, but saying if we did about half of it, that would put us at around $200,000. So, I mean, that's not unrealistic, but we could end up somewhere, you know, maybe a little bit lower If let's say we did half of what we did last time, well, not half, less than half. Let's say 600% overall. That puts us at around $110,000. I definitely think we do more than that. So I'm in the ballpark of around anywhere between $150,000 to $200,000 for the peak of this bull run. It's kind of what I've been thinking, right? So because we know, it's not that I think, because we know that there's diminishing returns as Bitcoin matures, that's why we also expect diminishing pullbacks. And I know that we've seen a lot of massive pullbacks over the years, but as Bitcoin has matured slowly, we've also seen those pullbacks get, at least less and less, right? Before, at any given time, Bitcoin could pull back 40-50%, right, in the middle of a bull run. Then we started seeing those 40-50s to go to 20 to 30%. Now we're at the point where we're seeing those 20 to 30% pullbacks to go more like 15 to 20, right? So that's kind of where we're at now. I think this bull run, currently during this pullback, we've seen it go down 17.5%. How much lower can we go? I mean, we could probably go up to like 20, 21%, 22 maybe, right? During the last pullback that we had, the last really big one, if we pull it up here, we saw that pullback. Let's see, where was this one? So that pullback was from up here, 49,000, down to 38,000, exactly a 21.5% pullback, right? So we definitely could see something like that. And where would that take us? A 21.5% pullback would leave us somewhere around here, $58,000 basically. So is that a possible scenario? It's a possible scenario, right? I'm not gonna say that that's not a possible scenario, but if we do get any pullback like that, look how quickly price jumped up. Like right shortly after that, a few weeks later, then things skyrocketed, right? If we go from the bottom there to then the new top, that's almost a 100% move, guys. 91.65% was the move after that 21.5% move. So if we saw something like that again from where we currently are, let's see, from the current bottom, if we see another 91% move, that'll put us somewhere around $116,000. Right? So insane. So that's pretty much what I'm expecting to see after this correction is over. After we get through all of this, after the Bitcoin halving, I'm expecting to see Bitcoin begin to do another leg up here. So another thing that we can do here to try to get an idea of where we might potentially go is measure out the pattern, right? So what pattern are we seeing right now? This is the same exact pattern. Hold on, let me take off the lock. Same exact pattern that we saw down here, right? And what is that? That is called a bull flag. So how can we use this information now to figure out where Bitcoin could be going, right? So if we go like this, this is basically a bull flag pattern here, right? Now, in order to figure out where Bitcoin's going next, we do something like this, where we measure the previous move. So let's say from the beginning of the move to the top of the move, right? Then we grab this and we put it at where the breakout could potentially be. So I think the breakout would potentially be somewhere around here at the apex of this. If we expect something like that, that gives us a 77% move to the upside, right? And that would give us about $116,000 as a target. So I'm not saying that's going to happen right away, but I think that it's only a matter of time before we see another rally just like this one right here, where it takes us to the next leap, basically the next leap forward. So whether that's 85,000, 80,000, 90,000, 100 or beyond, we don't know for sure, but that's basically what this pattern is telling us. And we saw something similar like this before, right? So if we look even further back, we're looking for this same pattern, right? Where Bitcoin has a big impulse move, then it has this correction slash bull flag, and then continuation, right? And we kind of saw that here. Now this was a lot more of a consolidation period, but it was kind of the same thing if you just kind of draw the lines, right? So if we just kind of draw these lines like that, and more or less like this, and we do this, that's kind of the same pattern. It's not going to be perfectly the same, but it's kind of the same. So let's measure that one and see, how close to the target did we get. So if we measure it from when it, started really making its move, it was more or less about there, with the top about here. Hold on, I didn't have the measuring thing on. That was about an 87% move. The breakout occurred here. And now we see it didn't go all the way up to the potential target, which was around what, 52,000, but it got close, right? We see it got up to 49,000, right? We got close, and eventually right here, it did hit that target. So even though $116,000 might seem like really far out, we might not go all the way there directly, but it's only a matter of time. We could do something like this where, we might run up like that, then kind of do something like that, and then go up and hit that target, right? So now how long it's going to take, we don't know. That's the thing. You can see here, maybe Q4 is usually the most bullish quarters in the year. So maybe Q4 is where we hit that. But that's just kind of an idea of where I think, what I think we could potentially see here. All right, so now that we kind of more or less did an analysis on it, long term, let's talk a little bit about the war and how war affects crypto prices and why war affects Bitcoin prices. So the idea is pretty simple, right? Cash, when in the worst case scenario of a war, cash is king, right? You need cash for the worst case scenario of a war, because if things are down, then you need to go around. If there's no internet, if there's no electricity, whatever it could be, you need to be using cash in order to survive, right? So when it comes to survival, cash is king. So when things like war happens, it's not that it directly affects Bitcoin. It's not like, it's like, oh my God, there's a war, this is bad for Bitcoin. It's bad. It's just bad overall for everything, right? It's bad for Bitcoin, all cryptos, right? It's bad for the stock market. It's bad for, the world. It's bad for the countries. It's bad for the people. It's bad for everyone. So that's the thing with war. So, institutional firms and institutional investors know these things, and they have algorithms set up, to trade based on sentiment, trade based on news. They have all these different algorithms set up. So when news like this comes out, all those algorithms, they want to front run everybody else. So they instantly begin to sell. Because they know with war or any news, that there might be a war, prices of assets usually go down because everyone wants to go into cash. So that's pretty much why Bitcoin gets affected with the news of war, right? People are going into cash. The algorithms want to front run the people going into cash. So, then that creates, it's a chain reaction, right? First, the news comes out, and then the first things that are going to be selling is the algorithms. The algorithms are first because they're too fast. They're computers. You can't compete with them. Then as Bitcoin price falls, people start seeing that, start panicking. They also start selling. Then as that makes price fall more, stop losses start hitting of any traders that were long, right? Traders start getting liquidated. We saw over $1 billion get liquidated in just a few days last week. So that happens, and that creates this cascade where, you know, at a certain price point, there's a liquidation event, then price falls faster, then it hits another liquidation, then price falls, another liquidation, price falls. As that continues to happen, more and more people begin to panic and begin to sell. And it's just a chain reaction, right? One after the other, one after the other. So that's why we see drops like we saw the other day where, you know, there were Bitcoin was down like 10%. Ethereum was down in just a few days. It dropped like 10, 15, 20%. We saw right now, I think Solana was down over 40% from recent highs. Cardano was down like 50%. There's some things that are down 60%. So yeah, guys, that's how war affects all that stuff. You know, crypto. That's why it affects it. And then you'll see things like gold also go up. So in times of war, cash is king, and people go into gold because they consider gold safe, and because they consider that gold is something that you can trade, you can use as a form of payment as well. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on it. You know, as far as the people that were asking why you know Bitcoin was dropping so much on the news of war, that's pretty much why. Now, if you guys have any questions based on any of these things that I've covered so far, feel free to drop it in the comments. I'll be happy to answer those for you guys. I'm gonna take a sip of water real quick, and then we're gonna look a little deeper into Bitcoins and kind of analyze it a little bit more, and we'll look into other news because there is some other news as well that's been going on. All right, so one of the other things that happened here that nobody's talking about. Let me pull it up here. Give me a second. Where is it? All right, so this one. So the other news here, let me switch over to it. Hong Kong approves spot Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. Now this is pretty bullish for crypto overall. Remember that China is the one that has banned crypto and Bitcoin 20, 30 times at this point, right? Every few years they banned Bitcoin, and now they approved spot Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. So the US hasn't even approved Ethereum ETFs yet. But Hong Kong, who has, again, China's banned Bitcoin many times over, has approved both Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. And again, this is definitely very, very bullish. The issue is the FUD right now, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the market right now because of this war and because of this latest drop has, you know, basically is keeping this under wraps. It's overcoming all of this, right? So that's the issue right now, that even though we had this bullish news today, there's too much out there right now that's pushing the price down. So, and if you look at overnight, you know, this was announced overnight. If you look overnight, Bitcoin's price did very, very well. So this was announced around 2 a.m. If we look here yesterday, wait, what's days today? All right, so here it is. This is about 2 a.m. 12 o'clock to 2 a.m. You can see that, I'm sorry, 12 o'clock to 4 a.m. You can see that Bitcoin moved up almost 2%. It went all the way from a low of 64,000 to a high of 66. Then it continued up from 4 a.m. to about 8 a.m., hitting a high of $67,000. And then after that, of course, the US stock market opened up and Bitcoin's prices dropped because we got news about, Israel retaliation news and all that about the war. So we've dropped back down. But, if the war issue wasn't a thing right now, I would expect that Bitcoin would have definitely gone back up, to these previous levels up here beyond $70,000. So it's unfortunate, guys. It's unfortunate that we're dealing with this, but it is what it is, right? That's kind of where we're at right now. So let's take a look here. We're looking at the 4-hour chart right now, and we can see a few things, right? So we see these big support levels. We see this is a big support level here. It's played out as a big support level there. This is also a big support resistance there. You can see there's a lot of price action there. So those two levels are around 63,000 and 65,000, right? 65 and 66. So you can see the prices right here, right? So all those levels are big levels overall for Bitcoin. And you can see that it's kind of bouncing around there. We need to basically, in order for us to begin going higher again, we're going to need to basically break above this level right here. That sits around $68,000. And let me tell you why. So right now you can see the structure, the short-term structure overall is what? It's down, right? We can see, we can kind of draw, you can pretty much draw a line here. And you can see that it's down, right? We have this line like that. We have kind of something like this, right? So that's kind of a falling wedge, right? If we look up the definition of a falling wedge, so let me see if there's something that gives us like an easy definition that we can just look at real quick. So a rising wedge usually occurs when a security's price has been rising over time, but it can also occur in the midst of a downward trend as well. Is not really telling me, but I think you get the idea with the illustrations. A falling wedge usually is a sign of that a reversal is coming, right? So you can see prices falling, and you can see the arrow pointing up, because usually a reversal happens after a falling wedge. Same thing with a rising wedge. Usually price drops. So as we look at it right now, we see this sort of a falling wedge, right? So we need, in order to see a reversal, we're going to have to see Bitcoin break out of this and break this level right here, because that's, if it breaks that, then that's basically a break of structure, right? We're breaking that trend where it's been going down, because we've been setting lower lows and lower highs, right? We've been setting, we had this high, low, lower high, lower low, again, sorry, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, right? So we've been boom, 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 boom. So right now we're getting, once again, we're heading down, right? If we continue what we've been seeing here, we could potentially set up another lower low, right? Before bouncing back this way. So what we need to see here is Bitcoin's price basically break all of that. We need to break this structure. So if we saw price go this way, then we set up a new higher high. We set up a new higher low and higher high. So this would be a higher low, and then we'd set a higher high, right? Because this was the other high. So we need to break the structure. Until there's a break of structure, we could potentially continue kind of bouncing like this all the way down, you know, to the $60,000 range. So that's pretty much one of the things that I've been watching right now and keeping my eye on. And we need to continue doing so going forward. And with the war news, it's difficult to say what's going to happen next. You know, Bitcoin doesn't really care about technicals, especially when there's war things going on. But we try to use the technicals to you know, try to see the possible scenarios. One thing to know is that prices will bounce back very, very hard when the war news cools down, right? We already saw it. We saw Bitcoin go all the way from $60,000 to $67,000 in a matter of a day or two, right? And now we're back down to about 63, 64. So we know that it's going to happen. We just don't know when. Right now, there's news of Israel potentially attacking Iran again. So because of that, you know, Bitcoin is dropping again. So we just gotta we gotta use these dips here for you know, as potential. You know, we gotta use these as an opportunity to build to dollar cost average and build our long-term holdings here for the next year. These are because once the war things cool off, which eventually they will, prices are going to pump. It's only a matter of time, guys. We saw this with Ukraine and Russia. Remember when everything with Ukraine and Russia happened? Bitcoin dumped, right? Bitcoin was falling hard. And then as soon as everything kind of cooled down, Bitcoin prices just went right back up. So yeah, guys. A lot of people are asking me, is it a good time to buy crypto now? 100%, right? Because right now, it's only a matter of time. This is going to happen, of course, you know, depending what happens with the war, all that, et cetera, it's going to go down. Use those as opportunities to buy long-term for the next year or two. Because after the halving is when Bitcoin really begins to have a move up. And I'm not just saying it, it's historically proven. It's happened over and over again. There will be a supply shock. It's only a matter of time, guys. There will be a supply shock because when the halving happens, what happens is there's less Bitcoin going into the market openly every single day, right? If there's less Bitcoin going in, being created, but the demand stays the same, right? That means price goes up. Now, think about it this way. If there's less Bitcoin going into the open market and demand increases, then Bitcoin goes parabolic. So that's what's about to happen in the next few months. It's not going to happen today, tomorrow, even when the halving happens in a few days, but it's going to happen and you need to be prepared for it. And the only way and right now you're getting one last opportunity to buy Bitcoin. Right now you're getting one last opportunity to buy Bitcoin at a discount before the Bitcoin halving happens, before there's less Bitcoin coming into the open market with the same amount of demand and with potentially increasing demand, which will send everything parabolic over the next 12 to 18 months. So be prepared, guys. Use these opportunities to potentially change your life, right? To build up your portfolio. Even if you're new, make a little budget, weekly budget, put some money in it. That money's going to grow and your portfolio overall is going to grow. So there we have it, guys. That's pretty much everything that I wanted to speak about today, what I wanted to cover. I didn't get any questions in the comments. So yeah, we're just gonna wrap things up. Thank you guys for tuning in. I had a lot of people request an altcoins live stream where I analyze the different altcoins. So I think I'll do one of those on potentially Wednesday or Thursday. So sometime later this week, either in the midpoint or towards the end of the week. So I'll see you guys in that one. As always, guys, peace and love. See you on the next one.